welcome to another episode of SteelTalk here with Steelers of Ireland. And today I welcome two gentlemen over on my far side from Carrickfergus, my good friend Ted Nesbitt, who's covering for Jonathan Milligan today. Ted is here, and all the way from the big state of Texas, we have the wonderful Mr. Mitchell Smithey. You're very welcome, Mitchell.
Hi there, thank you.
Thanks, Ryan. Welcome to our place, and it's good to have you here.
Likewise, a wonderful visit, thank you.
Yeah, good. You're having a good time in Ireland?
Love Ireland.
Brilliant.
Friendliest people in the world. Just everyone's been wonderful.
That's good. I'm delighted. You were here, Mitchell, was last October at the Irish Steel Guitar Festival.
Yes.
Was that your first visit to Ireland?
It was.
Okay.
And visited Ireland, and then I went to Scotland for a few days, and saw a few of the sites. But I came back and brought my wife so she could share it.
Excellent. And why not? Well done. Mitchell, you're a steel guitar player. You're a steel guitar builder. You have a wonderful career. You currently work building these beautiful MSA guitars. Mm-hmm. So you do.
I'm part of the team that builds the guitar.
Yeah.
I do the rodding and the final assembly and testing.
Yeah.
Great. along with the team with 3 or 4 other people.
Yeah.
So
wonderful. We'll get around to that in just a little while. But I'm going to ask you, for steel guitar, how did it all begin for you at the beginning? Yeah.
Oh wow! Well, I grew up in the '70s, and I grew up listening to the Stones and the Who, and oh gosh, who else? I was a rock and roller, the good rock and roll, the best rock and roll was back in those days, and I got into high school, and a friend and I kind of got into more acoustic music because we kind of the Eagles and. Poco came out, the Byrds, the Grateful Dead, and every now and then I started hearing this sound.
Yeah.
What is that sound? Yeah. It's kind of like, of course, I was playing guitar back then.
Sure.
And I couldn't make that sound on my guitar. And I went into a music store in Garland, Texas, with Arlen Morgan, which was the big store back then in a suburb of Dallas, and they had an MSA. Probably a 73 or 74 model double 10, and they had to run. I just started making sounds on it, and they had to run me out of the store. They said, "Hey, you got to get out of here. We're closing." So I don't know how many hours I'd been playing the guitar. So I said, "That's what I want to do."
Right, cool.
So I got a job pumping gas till I had enough money to order a guitar, and I bought one just like that. It was a black MSA double 10.
That was the beginning. That was the beginning of pedal steel. Yeah. You're back at that time again, I suppose, like I've touched with other players here, there wasn't a lot of help, unlike nowadays, Mitchell, regarding YouTube. There was nothing.
No.
And starting off, I suppose there were some books maybe available, was there? VHS cassettes or?
I just kind of jumped in with 2 feet, and until I got good enough to sort of play a gig, with a couple of guys. I wasn't really very good. I was probably pretty hard to listen to tell you the truth, but they're hard to tune, and
they are.
And then I found a guy that would teach, and he wasn't really a steel guitar player, but he could get his way around one. He could tell me what to do. He just couldn't very well do it himself, and he really helped me a lot. And he helped me on the theory end of it. He told me how chords were constructed. In fact, it was Maurice Anderson's cousin, as a matter of fact.
Wow.
Jess Hudson. So
cool.
And that helped me out a great deal.
Yeah.
And I just kept playing. And then we had records. You had LPs, and you'd try to pick it up off the LP by skipping the needle back.
Yeah.
And if you're lucky, you had a cassette player, which is a little bit easier to go back on.
Did you have some favorite players that you like to listen to?
Oh, of course. Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, I got into it through. We always listened to Poco back then. It came out. We thought that was the greatest band ever. Rusty Young, and it was that sound. My gosh, I thought that was great. It was great. It was great.
Yeah.
And then Linda Ronstadt. My gosh, she had some great records and some great steel guitar players. Burrito Brothers. So I kind of got into it through the country rock thing.
Okay.
So not necessarily the traditional country stuff, but the country rock thing was what and it's still, I just still love that stuff. I listen to it all the time.
Yeah, the players of those days were Jerry Garcia, Rusty Young.
Yeah, Teach Your Children. I mean, you heard that with
classic.
Still, it's like there's that sound, you know. And it was different. That was a different sound.
It was
a great solo.
Yeah. Very good, very good. Well, you've had a great career as a musician, Mitchell. You've played with some pretty wonderful people. You've toured.
Yes, I have.
You've Gary Stewart.
Gary Stewart. I played with him for a few years. Just started out. When he'd come through, I was working at the house band, and he would hire me to play on his set whenever he came through.
Cool.
And worked with him on and off for about 8 or 10 years not on a full-time basis, but just here and there.
And someone who would be very familiar with here in this side of the world in Europe, Leanne Rimes.
That's
you
right.
worked with Leanne.
I did. I had two good friends that worked with Leanne before me, Junior Knight and Milo Deering, who played that wonderful solo on Blue, which is a great solo.
Milo played that on the record, did he?
Yes, he did.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And those guys, after Leanne kind of got in a lawsuit with her dad, when she turned, I think she was 17, and moved to California, and then put together a new band with a few of the old players. And then I was hired on. In fact, my first date with Leanne, without ever meeting her or having a rehearsal with the band, was on Good Morning America with a TV audience of something like 7 million people.
Wow!
So I got a call. Can you go to New York on this date? I said yes. And they said, well, okay, you just need to learn these 2 songs. And I said, do I get a rehearsal? They said, nope. I said, just know them.
No pressure.
No pressure, but you will be on TV. So. And I got there, my rental amp did not show up, and the New York production guys were going, your amp didn't show up, expected to be chewed out. And I said, oh, that's okay, just get me a DI, I'll be all right, And anyway, it went well. So
Cool.
So I was on for the next tour, and then I was on for the next couple of years, and did some good TV shows, and
wonderful.
Had a great time. And she would give me chills every time she sang. So she was wonderful.
A wonderful artist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really, really good. After Leanne, what have you just been gigging local around Texas, or is there had you toured with other bands, or?
Well, I'm currently with T.G. Shepherd.
Oh, cool.
I play in a band called the Texas Country Music Hall of Fame Band, and we do all of T.G.'s Texas and Oklahoma dates.
Great.
He has a Nashville band that does everything on that side.
Sure.
But he can fly in to Texas and just meet up with us, and it's a good bunch of guys.
Wonderful.
It's a great band.
Yeah.
And let's see, what else am I doing? Just I do a lot of freelance work around Dallas.
You do session work, obviously, as well.
I do some. I'm not doing as much session work as I used to.
Okay.
Mainly because I'm in the shop building during the day.
I understand.
When all the sessions are going on, and Milo does a lot of session work.
Well, tell me, do you do remote sessions at all?
I do.
Online? Yeah.
I do. Absolutely.
So you're available for that, Mitchell?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
If anybody out there would like a steel player from Texas featured on their record online?
There you go.
Yeah.
It's steelsmithy@gmail.com. There you go.
Yeah. Excellent.
Tell me, Mitchell, during the time you were playing, was the Texas Steel Guitar Association running their annual event?
That they were. I wasn't I didn't go to a lot of those things because, frankly, I was working all the time.
Right.
I was, what I did, I wasn't the kind of guy that wanted to get out and get on a bus and stay gone for, weeks at a time. That's just not my style. I know a lot of people that love that, and they've done well at it, and but that's not my style. I'm more of a homebody, so I always tried to find the best house band gig in town and go for that gig.
Yeah.
And I did that for 30 years.
Yeah.
And
it worked well.
And it worked well. I raised a family, and I did pretty well.
Good. That's good. Mitchell, you were playing steel for a number of years. Your interests, you obviously became more involved within the instrument because you became a builder. You built pedal steels. How did that come around?
Well, I'd always been sort of a tinkerer with things mechanical, and but even steel guitars, I was still a little green on. But I knew how to maintain them and make adjustments on them.
Yeah.
And I got a call from someone telling me that Carter Steel Guitars was looking for some help because they were coming out with a new line of guitars. So I called them up, and we met and had lunch, and they called me a few months later when they got everything set up, and I began building guitars. Was trained by Bud Carter, who was, of course, he was a incredible designer and mechanic, and he sort of had a horse sense about steel guitars. I can remember a guitar I had that had a little catch in it. And he walked in the room and said, "Bud, I'm having trouble figuring out what's wrong with it." And he just kind of looked at it and said, "Oh, it's right there." Literally just like that. Okay, so. And so then Carter went out of business after John passed away.
But you were there how long?
About 8 years, I think.
8 years, that's a good relationship and a good work.
It is.
Time. You obviously gained a lot of knowledge while you were there as well, Mitchell.
Absolutely, absolutely. From one of the best.
One of the best.
I feel very fortunate to have that tutelage under Bud. So when the Carter Steel Guitars closed, I figured that was the end of my steel guitar mechanicking days. Or not mechanicking, but building days. Until Maurice Anderson called me at home one day and said, What did you do at Carter? And I said, I did everything. I built the bodies, I put the guitars together, I tested them. And he said, you need to call MSA, they need help. So I did, and been there, gosh, I guess 10 years.
Wow.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So.
The guitar you're currently sitting behind, you built that guitar, Mitchell?
Yes.
Really? I didn't know that.
You didn't know that? I was part of the team that built this guitar. I'll put it that way. I don't build everything on the guitar. The machinists do the machine parts. Kyle and Sonny Bennett attach most of the parts to the necks and the end plates, and then I do the rodding and the testing.
It's funny because there's another. I've got a black MSA there, and you know your own guitars. You know.
Oh, absolutely.
One. Yeah. Because Johnny Cox has done the one that I've got.
I looked at it and knew immediately that it was one of Johnny's guitars.
That's brilliant.
Yeah,
that's brilliant. Let's talk about MSA guitars. There's no doubt about it, and your good friend Ivor Greenwood. Ivor raves about MSA guitars. He, and rightfully so. You've got all these beautiful, as Ivor had pointed out to me in the past, there's no square edges anywhere in an MSA. Everything's rounded, everything's polished.
No, it has a really nice aesthetic look, and you notice there are variances in the bodies. It's wood. It's not a. It has a little bit of give, and so each end plate is fitted to each cabinet. By the machinist.
Yeah.
Until if you look, you can.
It's perfect.
Probably can't get a business card in between the end
Seamless,
plate and the
guitar.
Yeah. We have several people building bodies for us.
Does Mark Giles build most of the bodies for you?
I don't know that I could. He used to build all of the bodies for us. Right now, he's probably doing about half of them.
Yeah.
So
he's a guy that's very much in demand as well.
His guitars are beautiful.
Yeah, so I believe.
And he's been doing it a long time.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, I knew Mark Giles before he even got in the steel guitar business.
Really?
He was a fireman in Duncanville, which is another Dallas suburb, that used to come out to the club, and he bought a steel guitar. And I gave him his one and only steel guitar lesson. That was probably in the 80s.
Really?
And
so you're semi-responsible for him getting involved in steel guitar?
I don't know. I won't say that. I will say that I gave him one lesson.
Yeah, cool.
And I said that's his one and only steel guitar lesson. But you talk about a tinkerer. That guy can do anything. He is just a remarkable person.
Yeah. I've seen obviously lots of guitars with Mark's cabinets, and it's beautiful. Yeah, the guy's very good. But these guitars, MSA guitars, like you work there, Mitchell, and for the people that maybe don't know, it's where MSA is. From what I believe, they don't just build steel guitars there. Sure, they don't. It's like a huge, big manufacturing company. They make lots of other parts as well.
They do. It's there's two companies under the same roof. There's MSA Steel Guitars and Microspace Incorporated.
Yeah.
And they do specialize in micro machining and high precision machining, and do some work for the defense industry in the U.S. And a lot of the parts go to
NASA.
I don't know. To be honest with you, that's not my end of the company.
I understand. Yeah,
but a lot of it is for the aviation industry.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
And they also do, don't they do parts for artificial limbs and stuff like that?
Well, they have done some medical appliances for some custom procedures.
Also for Boeing?
Well, like aviation. I said, anything in aviation. So yes, and all of that stuff has to be precision machined and tested, and they're audited. So we have the same machinist making our parts that make airplane parts.
That's pretty special.
I've been fortunate to be in the factory a couple of times.
Yeah.
I went there.
Yeah. You visited the factory, Ted?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
It's a bigger machine shop than
any other steel guitar manufacturer in the world, I would imagine.
Probably.
Yeah. Everything's made in-house, Mitchell, yeah?
Almost everything.
Yeah.
There are some pieces.
Your end plates.
End plates are made in-house. The necks are made in. Everything you see on the outside is made in. We even make these knobs.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let me see. The legs these legs we made.
The legs are super lightweight.
They are. They're aluminum and plated, and we're now using a different leg than this. Just because this became difficult to make, and during COVID we also had some supply chain problems like everybody else.
Yeah.
And still are, as a matter of fact. But,
right.
Some of the parts underneath we farm out to a company that has a CNC lathe, which we do not have, and they can do it a lot better and faster than we can.
Of course. There's lots of extras in these guitars. One of the things that amazed me, it's the first ever pedal steel that I seen with a removable pickup.
That's right.
Within, say, 3 seconds, you got that pickup out of there.
Take it out of there, and boom, you can hot swap them if you wish. Most people just find the one that they prefer, but it's a lot easier to do this. To find the pickup you like than having to wire one in, and
it's very clever.
It is very clever, and in fact we make these ourselves. These little pins are machined on a little tiny lathe under a magnifying glass, and then are sent out to be gold plated. And
that's amazing. That's amazing.
But Sierra done that a long time ago.
They did.
Oh, I wasn't aware of it.
Yeah. In fact, I've got a Sierra at home. I need to get finished rebuilding to sell. So,
cool. Another thing that I like about the MSA, another feature which I find incredibly handy, is the rods on an MSA are all the same length.
Yes.
So there's no such thing. You're not standing there in a dark room trying to find which one's 1, 2, 3.
That's right. They're not numbered. They're all the same length, and they're adjustable by a wheel up here, which is conveniently located.
It's very clever.
Right there by the body.
It is a real clever.
So if you find yourself playing on heavy shag carpet, which isn't too popular anymore, but it is still on some bandstands.
Occasionally you can find it here as well, Mitchell.
You'll find that your guitar sinks into the carpet, and you have to
your pedals bottom out.
Yeah, they bottom out, so you have to lift your pedals up a little bit. It makes it handy for that.
You obviously, well, I know you work for the company, but and you play, but you're a fan of the guitars.
Of course.
Yeah.
No, they're wonderful. It's just there are a lot of great guitars being made right now. We don't consider them really competitors. We consider all the builders our friends.
Yeah.
There's plenty of room for everybody.
Of course there is.
And you know,
I tried to buy one of these last year, and I messaged Cal, and 18-month wait. So that tells you how busy you guys are and how much in demand these guitars are. And I'm a bit like a kid, Mitchell. You know, when I take an idea about something, I sort of want it that week. And needless to say, I didn't wait on the new one, so I managed to pick up the black one. but it's a fabulous guitar. But ideally, at the time when I was going to order the Tour Pro, like Travis Toys.
It's a fantastic guitar.
Did you assemble Travis Toys guitar?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, I did the writing on it.
Yeah, sure.
Sonny Bennett designed the back neck, the pickup block, and it's really a work of art. The way that it's on, you have to look at it to a lot went into that guitar.
Yeah.
Not only electronics, we worked with Fishman pretty closely to get the electronics right.
To get it where exactly you want
it. Yes, and we basically take their piezo Gibson style bridge and take the piezos out and throw the rest away.
Wow.
And then build our own bridge and the magnetics. We use the Fishman Fluence pickups, which are an active pickup, and they are fantastic.
Yeah.
They are not made with a coil wrapped around a bobbin. They actually print the coils on very thin circuit boards and stack them.
Wow.
So they have complete control over the impedance and inductance.
That dobro neck is completely dobro. There's no levers or pedals attached to that.
No,
it's as a dobro should be.
It as a dobro should be in a 25-inch scale length. Not a 24 or 24 and a quarter. It's in the proper scale length for dobro players and the proper string spacing.
Yeah.
So, and that's the way it should be.
Okay.
In my opinion,
yeah.
That's the way we designed it, and that's the way I think it should be.
MSA guitars are 24 and a quarter.
Yes.
You coming from Carter, they were 24. Is that right?
Yes, and so were the original Millenniums. Were also 24s.
Was the original Millenniums 24? So yeah. And Showbud, I didn't realize this until a few years ago. Our good friend Mr. Nesbitt was the guy that made me aware that there was differences in those guitars.
Yes.
Showbud was 24 as well.
Well, the only Showbud that exceeded that was Lloyd Green's original, which was 24 and a quarter. Sorry, 24 and a half, I think.
24.
Okay. Is that the
that
current?
Was the only one. That was the prototype.
Wow.
But every guitar thereafter become 24.
24. Yeah.
Tell me, Mitchell, who come up with the idea with the L frets?
No, the L frets came about by a salesman coming by the company once again and I believe he talked to Sonny Bennett. And MSA also builds control panels.
Okay.
They've done some work, mostly for aviation stuff. And some of them are backlit control panels. They make the knobs and everything. And they had come out with a new material that would, it's a type of, plexiglass, or I guess you call that Perspex here.
Perspex, yeah.
And it's got prisms manufactured into the Perspex with millions of them, little microscopic prisms. And Sonny looked at it and he said, And then the guy left and he came in one day and said, I wonder if we could make a fretboard out of that stuff and have it lit from beneath. And took him a while, but he figured it out.
So they've done it?
There are 3 LEDs, a surface mounted board right underneath here.
Wow.
That's it.
That's it.
They're about the size of a grain of rice.
Wow.
And it lights it all the way up.
Yeah. It's a very cool thing.
Well, I can remember going away back to early 90s at St. Louis, and a guy called George Morgan had light up fretboards.
There were some early
but they weren't as neat and tidy as
this is very elegant, and you wouldn't know that it's there until you turn it on.
Yeah.
So, and even the fretboards before that, before we had the lighted, were machined.
I just noticed. So there's a battery pack in there.
Yes, there is.
Rechargeable.
Rechargeable.
Yes,
so because I wasn't aware when you switched it on, it lit up, and that's yeah.
So there is we use a standard metal hydride 12 volt battery pack. You can buy one just about anywhere.
Yeah.
If it goes bad, you can get a replacement, pop it right in.
Sure.
They're cheap.
Yeah.
It's not lithium, so you can fly them.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Mitchell, something, and I know I asked you this earlier. You're a guitar builder. You've obviously, you know the ins and outs of pedal steels, and you're a very trustworthy guy when you're building guitars of this quality. But something that I have overthought many times in the past. I've read and I've listened. It's the aluminum necks versus wooden necks, and people talks about, some people would say the aluminum neck, more sustain, and I've read theories where builders said that they've hung the neck up and they've hit them, and if they didn't chime, they would just send them back and have them remelted down in new necks. But certainly, and guitars sound great, Zum Steels and even these old Emmondses and your MSAs. But I've got a couple of guitars here with wooden necks, and they sound equally as good.
Right.
So what's you being a builder? What's your theory on the wooden neck?
Okay, well, boy, that's a hot topic right there. There are a lot of opinions on that. Okay, first of all, I'll address our aluminum necks.
Yeah.
So let me start here. Our aluminum necks are machined out of billet aluminum, and they're quite thin. There is very little contact with the neck and the body, just around the edges and around where the screws go through the body to attach.
it.
There are some little studs that they screw into.
Sure.
Our wood necks are also quite thin, and they are hollowed out. Well, not thin on the outside, but they're hollowed out.
Exactly.
Except for the edges. So even the wooden necks don't touch the body except where the screws go through.
Yeah.
And around the edges.
Yeah.
So they're the same.
The same thing.
You can.
And is there any difference to you, the sound of your wooden neck guitar versus your aluminum neck?
To me, none. I have customers that say they can hear the difference. I cannot.
Yeah.
So, and I've owned both.
Yeah.
Now let me address the Emmons.
Yeah.
That is a cast aluminum neck.
Sure.
So if you took that neck off, you would see it's heavier, a lot heavier than this neck. It's cast, and with it just sort of hollows in between. So it's not 100% aluminum under there. There are some air pockets in there.
Of course, yeah.
But there's a lot of material in there.
Yeah.
Now that, I believe, does affect the tone.
Okay.
And in my opinion, cast aluminum and machined aluminum are not the same material.
Sure.
They do not sound the same.
No.
So
Yeah.
now, I believe this has a cast end plate too, I believe, and I know the old.
They are, as far as I'm aware, these old push pulls are cast.
Yeah, they're cast.
Yeah.
Now there are people that say that affects the tone. I don't know.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
I will say that what works for one guitar may not work for the other guitar, because all things are not equal in guitar building. You change one thing, it'll have an effect on something else.
Of course.
So
yeah.
The Emmons is a very unique sounding instrument, and everything worked to get that sound.
Of course. Yeah.
These guitars also sound great. It's a completely different design, manufacturing processes. It couldn't be any different than that. It's a lot different.
It's a lot different from
And the Zums, he came up with his way. And you play around with it until you get something you plays good and sounds good, and say, that's what it is.
Yeah.
If you change something to make it like this, you might not like what you get.
That's right.
So,
yeah. They all have their own identity.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And they're all built differently, I suppose. And you read and you hear different theories, but I suppose if it feels good and sounds good to you, it is good, and that's what's important.
Exactly.
With any guitar.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mitchell, I know you've got your picks off now, but I would love if you maybe would play something for us. Do you mind?
No, I don't mind. It may or may not be presentable. Let's see. Let me see. We just.
Beautiful. Yeah,
you.
very nice, very nice, very nice. And you certainly do get a great sound from an
Thank you.
MSA guitar.
Thank you.
And that's very impressive, considering being fair to the situation. It's not your own guitar, and you've just pulled on those picks that you found lying behind you.
Yeah, I had a couple in there, but that's okay.
That sounds great.
We'll fix it in the mix.
It sounds great. Mitchell, is there anything you would like to touch on, talk about, your career, your life within music, or, feel free to share?
Well, I mean, I feel really lucky to have grown up when I did. The growing up and learning to play in the 70s and 80s was oh my gosh, what a huge volume of great music was produced during that time.
Yeah.
And there still is, but I just feel like that was a real pivotal time in music, and I was very fortunate. But
who was your favorite players, by the way?
My favorite players?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, back then. Every time I heard something that was just really fast and like chicken pickety, and I'd hear it and say, "Who was that?" And it was like always Hal Rugg or Weldon, And those guys just, they were just, it kind of played out of the box, and I always loved that stuff.
Jimmy Crawford, he was another one.
Huh?
Jimmy Crawford.
Oh, Jimmy Crawford. Oh my gosh, what a player! Yeah,
Yes.
There were so many. I don't have, and of course, every time you heard Lloyd Green play, it was like melted butter. It just sounded so.
Yeah.
Every time you heard something like that, it was always.
Yeah.
And then later on, I kind of got into more of the guys that were playing the jazzy stuff, and of course Buddy. Everybody loved Buddy.
Everybody loved
Buddy never, whatever project he was working in, it like he would adapt himself to whatever style that was, and he would just morph into a different player to get the most out of what he was with. He was amazing at that.
Yeah.
Whether he was playing with Judy Collins or with Danny Gatton or whatever.
Yeah.
Now, in I believe it was in '76, there was a concert in Dallas that had Julian Tharp, Curly Chalker, Maurice, Buddy, Doug Jernigan on steel, had Les Paul, Howard Roberts, Tal Farlow, Bucky Pizzarelli playing guitar, and I think one more, and Louis Bellson playing drums and Slam Stewart playing bass at the Longhorn Ballroom, which was a historic ballroom that was owned by actually Bob Wills. That was the house band in that place. And I was there.
That was pretty cool.
Unbelievable. It was just an unbelievable show because they were trying to promote steel guitar as a jazz instrument.
You just witnessed the best.
Yeah, it was pretty phenomenal.
Yeah.
And Joe Pass was supposed to be on that show, but his manager wouldn't let him play a show with hillbilly instruments.
Yeah.
So
It really was a great era, wasn't it? Like to be there and witness.
Yeah. And there was work for back then. There was work for everybody. But I will say this: it was easy to, if you were half decent, you could go out and find a job playing in a band at night. I mean, if you might not be the best, but it was a way to hone your skills.
Sure.
I don't know where young players are going to do that now, and I think that's a big problem.
It is.
So just any younger players, just don't be discouraged. Just play everywhere you can.
Yeah. I do say that even with my own son, as young as he is 13, he's learning to play steel, and you can only play so much at home. Mm-hmm. You got to be out there in a band. So we do bring him out times, and we do some gigs because you'll learn much more on one gig than what you could learn.
Absolutely, the best practice is on the bandstand.
That's a fact.
And it's a craft. Stagecraft is a craft, and you have to learn it. You have to learn how to behave and to interact with other players on stage.
Yeah,
and it's hard.
Yeah. There's no doubt. Ted, have you anything that you would like to touch on with Mitchell?
No, we just such a little story. the first time I met Mitchell, we got off on the wrong foot.
We did?
We did. But by the time the day was over, we'd made up and become good friends.
That's good.
We're fine friends now.
Yeah, but Ivor and I, we have been attending the Texas Steel Guitar Show for, must be 16 years in a row.
Yeah,
you
wow.
know. And
Ivor's been a very loyal customer of MSA.
Yes, and he got to know a lot of people fairly quickly.
Yeah.
You know, even the guy who works in the office, what do you call him? No, but anyway, we've been attending that show for quite a while, and got to know all you guys, you know. So
Mitchell, you're obviously a regular at the Dallas as a player, are you? Do you play there every year at the convention?
I played this last year. I did not perform the year before that.
Okay.
There were just so many players, and you know the organizers of the show try to make it fair to everybody.
Fair to everybody, yeah.
They just can't put everybody up there every year, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
you know.
Do you always go there? But are you?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm there
with the company.
With the company, I'm in the MSA room. I will say that we have one of the best jams, if not the best jam, to toot our own horn a little bit, in the MSA room.
Yeah.
Mullins next door, they have a great jam too.
Cool.
And,
Well, I've never been, but if God spares us, I think we're all going to make it there next year. That's the plan.
Well, you are welcome to come into our room and set up a guitar and play. You are absolutely welcome.
I don't think I would be very happy to listen, because I'm a very, very average steel player, Mitchell. But I love the instrument. You know, it's. I've said this so many times. I don't know another musical instrument that can bring people together the way that a pedal steel does.
Very true. Yeah.
That is true. It is a haunting instrument, and it is so expressive, and
it is.
And it's a little bit of a harsh mistress.
Yeah.
You have to really you have to earn the guitar's respect before it will give it back to you. So,
you're you've hit the nail on the head there.
And don't want to discourage people, but if you're having trouble, just keep at it. One trait among steel guitar players I have found is stubbornness. You have to be fairly stubborn to become proficient.
Yeah.
And
you got to see it through.
I have loads of stubbornness. So.
Brilliant. Well, Mitchell, I think we've covered a lot there. It's great to have you.
Likewise. Cheryl and I have had a absolutely wonderful time here in Ireland. If anyone's here watching, you haven't been to Ireland, you must come. Friendliest people in the world. No kidding. And Scotland too. I'm going to Scotland also. I've been there.
Scotland's great.
Just wonderful people.
I'm just back from Scotland yesterday.
Yes, that's right. You were playing all week.
I was gigging over there for a few days, and Scotland really is, for me, leaving Donegal, going to Scotland, it's home away from home. It's pretty much the same, you know. So, but no, listen, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate your
hospitality.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome.
Ted.
That brings us to a close for Steel Talk for today with Mitchell Smithey, all the way from Texas. Great to have him here. Thanks very much. Until our next episode, take care. Thank you.
Thank you.